Hey y'all, so I've been meaning to do a follow-up video, the one I did about church hurt for a while, and I have not had the time to just sit down and put my thoughts out here on video for y'all, but I got time today, so we're gonna talk about it. So, my first video, I talked about leadership and their role in church hurt, but now I'm gonna talk about the other side of it. Those who are or have been the recipients of church hurt. And my first question to you is, um, if you knew that there was a place or a gathering of people where what you needed was there in that place, um, would you let one or two or even five people keep you from getting to that? Like if the food you needed for you or for your kids was there, or the money you needed to pay your rent so you wasn't homeless, it was there. Now, those are just like literal, representations of some of our physical needs. But the thing about church hurt, when we get hurt, a lot of times, especially when it comes from either strangers or other people that we know or that we're getting to know or partially close to. Most of the time we get hurt because we're triggered. And the thing about triggers is that is the moment that someone shines a light on the places that really hurt. And so we have options when we're triggered, right? Like when we're spiritually and emotionally immature, when we're triggered, we're angry. We're ready to get into some things. And most of the time, if we can't, handle it, or we might handle it the way that we shouldn't, talking crazy to people, cussing them out. I've been there. I've been that person for sure, for sure. But when we do that, we miss the blessing of the trigger. So the thing about the trigger, and it's shining a light on your pain or your trauma, is that's your opportunity to acknowledge, oh, this don't feel good, and that don't feel good is your opportunity to start to figure out what's the root of that thing, so that you can deal with it and be healed. And in order to have the peace that God promises, you got to be healed, right? Now, I'm not giving a pass to church folk being wrong or anything else, but you know what? Guess what the church is full of? People. And people do ignorant, foolish, thoughtless things all the time. And so because we have an expectation of people that go to church, of them not necessarily being just regular people, um, hey, guess what? There's multiple patients in the hospital receiving various levels of care, right? Some patients in the hospital are outpatients. They just come in to get what they need and go home. Some patients are inpatients. They got to stay there for a while and get continuous care. Some patients are in the ICU and they need a whole other level of care and treatment. So depending on where you are in your trauma journey, you may be coming into the hospital thinking that, it's something simple, but you really need to spend some time in the ICU. You really need to dig into God and his word and get to knowing him for yourself, so that through that relationship, and hopefully if you're in a church teaching sound doctrine, through that relationship that you're building and the knowledge that you're getting from a good physician, right? You're able to shift and make the lifestyle changes that you need to. You're able to receive the medicine that you need to get to your healing and your cure, you know. But a lot of us, the the trigger button, it gets pushed and we run for the hills, not knowing that that's God shining a light on the areas in us that he wants to clean up and work through. Sometimes with a wound, they have to go in and dig out dig out what's causing the infection so that it can heal. And that's not a pretty process. And honestly, if they didn't have anesthesia and other things, it would be a much more physically painful experience than a lot of people have had. When people get burned, The process of cleaning those wounds daily, caring for those wounds daily, is ugly. And life, baby, life burns us all the time. So my question for you, if you ran away from the hurt and used the church as an excuse to not get to your healing and your peace, and you're using all these other things to bring peace and joy into your life, not giving a pass for where people are wrong, but just always know and understand that judgment always begins in the house of God. Because you don't beat the neighbor's kids. Ooh, is that the wrong words? I don't know. But you don't spank the neighbor's kids before you spank yours. You don't rebuke the neighbor's kids before you rebuke yours. So God's judgment always begins in his house. So trust and believe that those who sit in the house, God deals with them first. And he knows exactly how to deal with each one of his kids. Just like as a parent, when you have multiple kids and they have multiple, they're all different in their personalities, and you can't punish and deal with each of them the same. God knows how to deal with his kids. But for you, are you letting someone else keep you from your blessing and your healing? I pray that you receive this message and you understand that what God wants to do for you is greater than what any man could ever do, what any man can ever say, what any man could ever know. And I pray that you go and seek him out for yourself, and that you find an assembly and a house and a body of believers that you can commune with, so that you can reason together, so that you can grow and you can become fully and completely the person that God has called you to be, the person that God says you are, and know fully and completely the depth of his love for you, because it is so much greater than anything you could ever imagine. So that's all I gotta say. It took a long time to say it. I'm sorry, I'll be mouthy and wordy, but I hope that this message touches your heart and you receive everything you need from it today. Be blessed.